So we are live at the start for the Thames Challenge Cup. It's a club men's 8 event, and Thames, the name which we feature through the Thames Cup so often, Thames Rowing Club B on the far station in their distinctive black, white and red. And we have De Hoop from the Netherlands nearest to the picture. The hands are up and going down as the coxes check that they're straight in these blustery conditions. See from the flags there, the headwind we've got right up at the start here. So they're quite a lot of weight to get those 8s out of the blocks and shifting, Kath.
Yeah, nervous moments for them all. They'll be really eager and keen to get on this and blast out. Off they go.
So this is the Thames Cup, Thames Rowing Club B against De Hoop from the Netherlands. Away they go cleanly. You can see it's taking some effort. Look at the bend on those flags in the start. It's really quite a hefty headwind up there, so a lot of extra weight for the crews as they get the boats moving from stationary. Looks like De Hoop have got a slightly faster start at this point.
Yeah, they've got a lot of power, haven't they, in that crew? We've seen that as they've raced over the last few days. And Thames B will be, of course, trying to put all of their knowledge and huge squad experience of racing at Henley into this. They're going to have to go early to try and hang on to the De Hoop squad.
So here we are alongside De Hoop, and Thames looks like De Hoop have stolen a seat or two in the first 250 metres. Now they've got to transition. Can they transition down into something that's sustainable? While Thames, well, they've got to keep their hand in the flame and see if they can hold on to De Hoop, so that as De Hoop settle into a rhythm for the middle of the course, that Thames can steal those seats back. Will it be a time for Thames B, or are De Hoop going to start to break clear? Looks to me, Kath, like they're moving stroke by stroke, stealing several more seats over the last few metres.
Oh, I think they've got a lot of power, haven't they, now that they're able to get a longer stroke and they can feel they're moving. You get that real high now out of the start that feels, you know, sprinting and full on and sometimes a little frantic, to hit the rhythm that you know is going to take you away from that crew and down this course is a great feeling. And I think there's huge confidence that the way the stroke and certain pair are leading this crew, this Dutch crew, really impressive.
Yeah, well, De Hoop are really trucking now, aren't they? They're just shifting down the course and showing that sort of contrast with that fluid Dutch style. We love to see that here. Thames, well, punching away through into the middle of the course. We've got a lot of wind to cope with here, and that just talk about the headwind, how it makes you feel in the boat compared with more benign conditions, because we had tailwinds off the start earlier, but this headwind is really pushing back at these crews.
That's the challenge, not to make it feel heavy in a headwind. You've got to keep it moving, and beautiful flow we can see there coming around the back of the Dutch crews. You can see the sort of hands flowing away, and it's just a little more sort of stoppy and stocky at the back. Somehow it's a bit of a stop, almost just for a fraction of a second in that Thames crew. Yep, blades are out, but the boat just sort of jumps for a minute, whereas it flows on, it flows on, it flows on once those blades come out in the Dutch crew.
So we see umpire Sarah Winkles deploys the flag, warning De Hoop to stay to the left of the picture. The centre line of the course is usually marked by where the umpire's launch is driving. You can see the nose of that launch is going dead down the middle of this course here at Henley, and De Hoop need to get their oars off that centre line. At the moment, there's no chance that they're going to be impeding Thames, but if they were to come close, then they would be in the wrong. So De Hoop have to stay on their station as we move a touch down the course here, looking back at the Temple Island, and De Hoop moving through the geese and the ducks across the river here, cleanly now ahead of Thames B.
Get a great shot of them coming up here. Powerful crew, and they'll be wanting to run through the moves. They know that these races are going to get harder and harder, and when you've got out ahead, it's then for the cox to try and help get the technique really on point, to make sure that the rhythm is really strong, so when they come under pressure potentially later in the week, or if Thames throw anything back at them, they're ready to move. So you're always thinking ahead, always thinking about making sure that technique is absolutely on point when this water can challenge us, and you need to be as efficient as possible to save energy for the races coming up as well.
Absolutely right. So here we go. It's the Thames Cup, and it's Thames B here. It's their last chance really to attack, given the size of the gap that they've got. You can see how windy it is there. Look at, we talked about the Badlands area here where you've got wind swirling around. You can see that on the water here, but here we go. De Hoop, well, they really have rowed this well, haven't they? Beautiful fluid rowing, despite the conditions, despite that headwind giving them extra weight. They're making it look light and lively, and that's what's giving them the edge for my money. Yeah,
they do. They've got more effective length, and it does. They are making it look, you can row longer and have that real ease in between the strokes, whereas somehow Thames are working harder to get to the next stroke, and it's a little bit shorter, and the boat runs a little bit less in between. So it's always trying to make sure not just that you're accurate and powerful during the time the blade's in the water, pressure, but that you're then getting all the benefit you possibly can in between. And a nice close-up shot here. Let's watch how they kind of flow away from the finish.
Yeah, it's seamless. There's no start or end to this stroke, really. It's just a smooth, fluid cycle. We like to see the legs pressing down together. We like to see the shoulders kind of nice and loose so that they can cope with any moves or bounce on the water there. So that's the Dutch De Hoop crew. Stroke man there, panting a little bit. Bastien Colette sitting in the stroke seat there. Then we look across at both crews, the contrasting styles. And here's Thames. Like you were saying, a bit more kind of workmanlike, a bit more pushing in the back end of the stroke. Really gritty time now for the Thames crew. You see George Nelson there with his distinctive hairstyle in the stroke seat, sitting in front of him. Richard Hill urging him on.
Yeah, it's you know, a lot of grit in the Thames crew, and I applaud them for absolutely powering with everything they've got. But it's not as smooth, and that costs you. That's taking up energy, and it's potentially energy that's not moving the boat forwards either. And it's just a little rougher, isn't it? The shoulders are more tense, and that's one way of sort of looking across the crews. You know, when the shoulders are up nearer the ears, as in some of the people in this crew, then it's just got too much tension to really allow the power to be on the end of the oar. And that's one of the things we spend hours and hours trying to train, isn't it? Trying to develop. And look there, the shoulders are nice and low. We get a great shot there. Nobody's got their shoulder anywhere near their ears in the Dutch crew. Really relaxed, and that means they can let the oar come out without jerking the boat, without stopping it in any way.
Looking at the back of Mitch Gerets in the bow seat of that Dutch crew. And something else I think I always look for in an 8 is how's the bow pair setting up the boat. That fluidity in the bow pair really helps to set up the rest of the athletes. It's about the balance and the poise and the flow of the boat there. And even the Dutch now starting to cope with a little bit with side wash and side winds there. And Thames, actually the boat's moving reasonably well. I think we come out of that swirly area now alongside the stewards enclosure. The river's a bit more protected, the banks and the stadium in place to kind of give some shelter from the wind.
I mean, fighting back with everything they can in true Thames style. They want a race, they want to be in a race, so they are just asking some questions to keep the Dutch honest and make sure they don't get an easy ride through this.
Was there a moment of complacency there for the Dutch, and they just let Thames have a sniff? And my goodness, Thames, you don't want to give that club a sniff of a race like this. Here go Thames, coming up into the last 15 strokes or so. They've got to have a real go here, Kath. Will the De Hoop guys respond? Well, they pushed up too. It's Thames and De Hoop, but De Hoop are going to take it across the line. They go through to the semi-finals of the Thames Challenge Cup tomorrow. And well, Thames B, what an effort pushing them at the end there. Love that rising to the challenge. I
mean, it's a 2-horse race, so you have to give everything. There's no further round, and so Thames needed to make sure they emptied the tanks. And you can catch a crew if they've got steady in a rhythm. Then you need to test them, and they tested the Dutch, but the Dutch were ready.
And there we go. The face of Julia Grunwald says it all. The Dutch delighted to win at Henley.